Yo, what is up? Welcome to Ninja Geek Games. This is Survive Alive, a draw and write game coming to Game Found soon. Set in a post-apocalyptic... It's got zombies in it. A catastrophic event has resulted in some form of outbreak where the undead are attacking the living, and you, a lone survivor, must set up base, form a community and build defensive structures and facilities in order to survive. You'll need to risk scavenging the local town for supplies and ultimately prep for the oncoming horde of zombies. Survive Alive is a 1 to 4 player game where you must choose the right strategy to earn victory points. Note that this is just a prototype of the game, so any contents you see here may vary. Let's look at our supplies. This is the local town showing all the various locations that you can visit and the resource cost for each. The map is actually double-sided, showing a night version of the town on the back. There are cards for the game's objectives as well as those detailing the outcome of scavenging and tokens for marking wounds on the characters in your community. Each player gets a base sheet. These show all the structures that you can build, their cost, and has areas to mark victory points gained throughout the game. Everyone starts the game with 2 characters that shows their starting resources and special abilities, and their details and equipment are recorded at the bottom of your base sheet. The last of the cards are the events that show the base location of the zombie attacks and how many resources each player can take for the next round. You each get a player screen to hide your base details from others, and there are a bag of about 150 resource cubes of 7 types, and it's these you need to spend to build structures in your base, scavenge the town and keep your survivors alive. During the game you'll first need to spend resources to build facilities and defensive structures. Each of these has a different cost and all provide various bonuses or passive effects as long as they remain in play. You'll then have options to scavenge, but this costs food, and you'll need to ensure your survivors are well equipped. Lastly, event cards are drawn that shows which area of your base the zombies will attack. If you can fight them off, all is good and well, but if you sent too many survivors to the town or they took too many wounds, then your base starts to crumble and they join the undead army. As we'll see, there are also various stages in the game where you need to check survivors' morale and health. You are being hunted by walking corpses, as well as the integrity of your base. If you've planned accordingly, then this grants endgame victory points. As this game is draw and write, the draw mechanic comes from gaining random resources where your in-game actions and survivors can alter this. The write mechanic constitutes all the structures, goals, weapons and objectives that you've completed. Here you simply use a pen, supplied with the game, to mark this on your player base sheet. To build structures in your base you need to pay resources, of which there are 7 types: wood, metal, brick, food, herbs, cloth and a wild type. At the start of the game your base is pretty bare, but has the blueprints for all the structures that you can build, showing their cost in resource cubes. Defensive structures surround the base and provide strength to fight off the zombies. The first 2 columns of the base are for food and herb gardens that grant extra resources at the end of a round. The sleeping quarters and hot water increase survivor morale, and the medical rooms allow you to spend a number of herb resources to heal wounds within your community. This column allows you to store resources from one round to the next. At the start of the game you have access to one of these structures, but as you build more you can prevent waste and store a few more. These workshop areas, once constructed, decrease the cost of all further buildings and weapons for the remainder of the game, and the radio and command centre generate you more resources and possibilities to find new survivors. Lastly, each survivor is recorded here, and this also shows the weapons they're carrying. Whatever you build, the resource cost is shown here, where either wood and or steel are required for each. Once built, you mark the area to show it's now part of your base, and as you start to build more of the same facility type, they become more expensive. Once you're happy with your base, or you've spent all your resources, you can choose to scavenge at the town, but this costs food. First you need to choose your survivors, take a scavenge card matching the number of resources shown in the location that you want to search. The scavenge card shows the strength of the zombies that your survivors must at least match with the strength of their weapons. Succeed and you could earn victory points or rescue more survivors, fail and they take wounds. However, if you fail miserably because the difference between your survivors' combined strength was far too weak for the zombie attack, then they could die, only to get back up again. At night the zombies plan a finely tuned attack against the weakest part of your base. Only joking, they have no clue, they just turn up looking for fresh brains. In this phase, an event card is drawn that shows which side of your base the zombies attack and their strength. All you need to do is add up the strength value of all your defensive structures on that matching side. Equal or exceed the zombie strength and you survived another day, but fail and they can start to destroy your base. However, any survivors that didn't go scavenging earlier in the round can lend their weapon strength to help fight off the horde. But in doing this, the survivors could end up becoming zombie fodder. The event card will also show the number of resources that you can draw to use in the next round, and the number will vary based on the size of your community. It's at this point you may also find additional survivors, but only if you have a command centre built. Also, anytime you rescue survivors, you gain a few extra resources for the trouble. At the end of a round, you then get to look to see if you've gained any more resources in addition to what the event card provided. Gardens can provide food and herbs. Having a radio allows you to take 3 randomly from the bag. Also, some survivors have special abilities that can help. The next step is to check the morale of your community because they need to eat, rest and have access to hot water. You need to spend 1 food per survivor and then check your base map to see if you have enough beds and showers, 1 of each for all individual survivors. I mean, give me a bed, food and a bath and I'll be happy. If you can provide everything that all your survivors need, then you'll earn victory points. Fail and you'll lose some of your limited resources, which can be detrimental. The game ends after 6 rounds with the player with the most victory points wins. These are gained during the game and recorded on your board based on the outcome of your actions. Anytime you meet certain criteria in the game, you mark these areas on your base. You'll gain points for each survivor you rescue, but negative points if zombies breached your base during their attack. However, if you are able to fight off a zombie horde attack and none of your survivors have taken wounds during the round, you'll also gain more victory points. You get to mark off any successful scavengers at locations in the town and record how many points were awarded on the scavenge card, and this area is for morale. At the start of the game, players will have 3 random objectives that they'll be chasing for victory points, as if constructing, scavenging and fighting off the infected wasn't enough. These can be awarded for building the most weapons or even losing the most survivors. It's a bit morbid. And each game will provide a different combination. Now, I know this is a prototype, but it's so good. I've never played a draw and write game before and think this ties in perfectly with the theme. The resource bag has different quantities of all types of cubes, with wood and steel being the most common, and each player base is associated with a different geographical location for asymmetric play. This means the costs of all facilities and structures is different, although they are double-sided if you prefer to make a more standardised approach. I like the fact you know the odds of zombie strength when scavenging, as the card count is shown on the town map. However, you may still be unlucky, but at least this allows you to try and prepare accordingly. What's more, any survivors that go scavenging are not able to help out when the zombies attack the base. Here you have some risk management. Hunt down the higher value victory points or try to keep the horde away. Also, when you build a watchtower, as well as providing a greater defensive strength than mere barricades, they allow you to secretly look at the next event card. Now you can predict which side of your base the attack will come from, where you can then make better choices on which or how many survivors to send to the town and where to build barriers. But be warned, as the game continues you will end up drawing more than 1 event card each round, meaning zombies could attack from multiple directions at the same time. Not only that, the zombie horde gets a bonus strength value in addition to what the event card shows, and this increases over time. These events are shuffled into the deck each round, so you cannot card count. You need those watchtowers. This game is highly thematic. You need food to scavenge. Think of it as supplying your survivors for their journey. The less you spend, the harder the fight. When you draw resources, if your community is small, you'll get a few extra. Have 2 or more survivors and you gain less. Herbs can heal wounds, but building medical bays reduces the cost, and you can also trade in resources for one that is more beneficial. This is quite costly unless you build a command centre that provides a 2-to-1 ratio, and I like the idea of losing resources, theft, if morale is low. The solo mode is just as good, except the town becomes smaller and locations start to become barren the more you scavenge. I really like this game and I'm very excited to see how the campaign goes, as Survive Alive is simply a great survival horror with some tidy resource management. You're never really in abundance of resources, you have some difficult decisions on how to spend them each round and generally don't get to build everything you wanted. If you're looking for your first draw and write game, then this is certainly a good place to start. Thanks for watching. This is Ninja Geek Games. Cheers.